AI is a hot topic in wealth management right now, so I caught up with Kirk of InterGen Data to learn more.
The biggest challenges that we've seen so far in harnessing the power of AI, especially now, have been around how do I use it? I get the data, but now what type of messaging? So it's an understanding of people, but it's how do I communicate that to this group? How do I take what I know now versus what I did know, and do I even need to change, whether it's the vernacular, the marketing materials, how it looks? Those are some of the tougher questions that people are dealing with today. AI in wealth management is going to go into a couple of different areas. First, as we've talked about on the personalization, and I'll get to that in a second, but in reality, you're going to look at the first foray going into understanding and detecting specific types of anomalies or patterns. Do people call in at a certain time? If the markets react a certain way, if a life event happens, how do I talk to this person today? And what are their traits? So if I start to know more specifically about detecting that pattern, I can get in front of it. On the second side, it's really about understanding how the products and services should be allocated to a person. So think asset allocation. Even though I might be more inclined to be at the age where I might have an annuity, if I have something coming up in my future that really would require me to have more cash flow positive, that I need liquidity, then maybe an annuity, maybe certain types of illiquid products aren't right for me. It's going to be something where I need that liquidity. So understanding the models of how people are looking, and then more importantly, the types of products and services that meet. But again, that goes back to the general theme, which is personalization. I can now take my products and services and personalize them in a greater sense towards each individual. So InterGen Data fits into the wealth management space in a couple of areas. First, we are the ones that are trying to predict, more importantly, the life events on a health and wealth side. Yes, these are things like having children and having babies and how many and marriages, but there are also some of the negative events like a divorce or even things that would say, I might get a cancer or my parents might have to deal with a stroke. The bottom line is you have to be prepared. But we as people, we're human. We don't like to think about things. Nobody comes up and says, hey, can you tell me when you plan to get cancer? When do you plan to have a stroke? No, they don't do that. And nor do we want to talk about it. So when you hear somebody say, oh, my wife has cancer, you kind of shy away. You don't know what to say. Well, in this instance, we're using that data in a predictive sense to give and empower advisors to know this is likely. People like you tend to go through these things, and then to be able to use that in a much easier way to say, does this concern you? Because if it concerns you, then we can start to ask the questions in a much easier way. It is still personalization, but it's understanding who each individual is. So not just me, but who my wife is, and our children are a mix of both of us. That's where understanding everyone's life events and propensities and probabilities is really key. We think that's going to be one of the main driving forces going forward in wealth management.